everyone. This is Sincere, a Teacher Sincere's channel, and welcome once again. So, it's been a while. It's been a month since I did a booktube video, so I'm back again, and I'm going to share with you a couple of works that I have that I've been working on in the last few weeks. All right, so if you viewed some of my other videos, you probably heard me talk about a memoir or memoirs by an Iraqi lady who lived from 1804 until 1870. Okay, and at that time it was not called Iraq; it was part of the Ottoman Empire. So she is listed as being born in Nineveh, Ottoman Empire. Okay, so what is now today Iraq was actually part of the Turkish Ottoman Empire. So I had mentioned earlier I read her 2-volume work, finally finished them both. It's called Memoirs of a Babylonian Princess, and the author is Maria Theresa Asmar. Okay, so here's volume 1, and then volume 2 is the same cover but just has volume 2 on it. Okay, so I finally finished volume 2 over the weekend, and so here they are together. And I gave volume 1 actually 5 stars on Goodreads, and volume 2 I gave 4 stars. I really enjoyed this memoir. It was very interesting. It was published in 1844. And Maria Theresa Asmar, she was born in northern Iraq near Mosul. And she was Christian. She came from a wealthy Christian background. The origins of her family was originally from India. They had left India like 300 years previous to the 1800s. They left India, which has a Christian community that dates back to Apostle Thomas. Apostle Thomas is said to be the one that brought Christianity to India. And so her family left India like 300 years. That would be 17, 16, 15. So sometimes maybe in the 1500s, late maybe 1400s, they left India and first moved to Persia, which is now modern day Iran, and also they eventually migrated into Iraq, where they settled. And she had some of her, they were actually Christians, like I said, and one of her relatives was actually a patriarch, like sort of the head of the church, one of the Eastern churches in what is now Turkey. He was in the area of Diyarbakir in southeastern Turkey, and also Mardin. That was one of her relatives. And her memoir is very interesting. I highly recommend it. And basically, it starts out talking about her childhood. They were a wealthy Christian family. Her father was very devout. The family were very devout Christians, very upstanding people, and they had a good life. But then they got persecuted first again, and it's very interesting. In the book, they were persecuted. They had problems always with Turkish administration, not so much with the Arabs. They had a good relationship with many of the Arabs. So it was a problem with the Turks that were the Turkish administrators and different people. And so her father, they got persecuted. Her father lost his wealth, was imprisoned. He was finally freed, and then he regained his wealth. And then once again, he ended up being persecuted and died. And so her family basically got wiped out by a plague that happened, an epidemic, and then also by persecution, religious persecution for being Christian. So after the death of her family, she decided to go on a journey to travel around parts of the Middle East. And her ultimate goal was to go to Europe, and she wanted to become a nun, because she was a very religious person. And I don't know, she didn't write any. I was waiting to see was she going to write much about Europe. She didn't write much about Europe. In fact, she had sort of the attitude that you have a lot of times with foreign people will have about America. They think because they see on the television that everything is perfect here, everybody's rich here, and that is just not the case, okay? And so she felt the same way about Europe. She felt Europe that She wasn't worried about their wealth because she was not a materialistic person. And like I said, she was a very devout person. But she thought that European people would be much more devout than the people in the East. So she ended up being very disappointed. She was also an advocate of women's education for women and girls. She did set up a school, but it was some unscrupulous European guy that stole her school from her. He went to the Turkish authorities, and she ended up losing her work that she, her project after her family, disintegrated. She went to Baghdad, and that's where she set up her school to help women and girls. She's very much for the education of females. And so this guy ruined everything for her, and she was disillusioned, and she decided to start her journey. And she had made up her mind that she wanted to see as much of the East as she could, also Europe, before she took vows and took on the vocation of becoming a nun. So these two books basically are about her travels around the East. Book one, she stayed for a good while with some Bedouins. They treated her great. She enjoyed it. She enjoyed being around them. And she even considered, thought about maybe I could, these people are so good natured and honorable. Maybe I can convert them. Okay. But she never did try to take on that project. Then she ended up in Damascus, Syria. She went with like a group of people, and they went to Damascus, and she does a lot of great descriptions in the book. It's just really interesting, her descriptions of about that time and place. Okay. And book two, a lot of book two is actually in Lebanon. Okay. She ended up staying for a long time with like one of the Lebanese governor who was Christian in this area. It was a lot of monasteries there, everything. So it's really, really interesting. And I just really enjoyed both books. And I'm going to read some quotes actually from the book. Okay. So here's my quotes book. Okay. All right. So I wrote down some quotes that I really like, and wrote them. Everything I write in here is in cursive. So I want to try to keep my old-fashioned writing up to date. Cursive is actually being brought back to. It's over half this. Cursive writing has actually been brought back to over half of the states here in the United States. When they instituted Common Core back over 10 years ago, when Obama was the president, they took cursive writing out of most of the school districts throughout the United States. So it's been reinstituted, and so kids will get to learn how to do the kind of writing I started learning how to do in the third grade. Okay, so I'm going to read a few quotes that I wrote in here from the book. Okay. All right, she says, I had from my infancy a tendency to associate with the pensive and melancholic in preference to the joyous and lighthearted. Indeed, I had always preferred solitude to society. I longed to lead the life of the lone bird on the mountain, communing with nature and with nature's all beneficent creator. How is my longing increased now that I have seen the wickedness, the fickleness, and perfidy of corrupted human nature? And then she also writes, this is when they were journeying, they were actually going to Palestine. They were going from Syria, and they went to Palestine. We could plainly see the white sails of vessels off Gaza, although near upon 50 English miles distance in a straight line. So she actually could see near Gaza. Okay. Let's see. To my great joy, the Hawaja Yusuf brought with him a box of delicious manna of the genuine kind. And this is like the manna from heaven that in the Bible, God rained down on the ancient Hebrews when Moses was leading them out of Egypt, had led them out of Egypt. Of manna of the genuine kind. So apparently manna exists, okay, which falls from the sky like snow in the months of April and May on a tree somewhat resembling the tea plant. Okay. Let's see. And and then this is what a woman told her Lady Stanhope, who was an adventurer from Europe, from England, told her, because Maria Theresa Asmar had this sort of idealistic idea that Europeans are going to be highly moral and everything. But then Lady Stanhope, who was actually a guest who was also visiting the Emir Bashir, who was like the governor in this area of Lebanon. Lebanon years ago, Lebanon still is like 35% Christian. But Lebanon back at this time probably was about half or more Christian. Okay, so this is what Lady Stanhope told her about. She warned her about Europeans, that the Europeans weren't as virtuous and nice as Maria Theresa Asmar was actually envisioning. Okay, so the sun of Europe is set, and in the hearts of her degenerate sons, there remains not so much as a spark of virtues of their forefathers. Piety and learning have been replaced by low cunning and intrigue, by carnal self-seeking and hypocrisy. You will see nothing but degeneracy and corruption. Stay where you are, and you will at least see religion untainted with dark schemes of self-interest and personal aggrandizement. Okay, so she really wanted to go to Europe. She had this idealistic view that, Europe's going to be perfect. That people are going to be they're going to be so religious. And Lady Stanhope was basically telling her that no, they lost that a long time ago. Okay, so probably I'm thinking all the big change probably came around the time of the French Revolution. Okay, in the late 1700s. So I really enjoyed reading the memoirs of Maria Theresa Asmar, Memoirs of a Babylonian Princess. I really recommend it. You can see how life was during that time in the 1800s. Probably she was born, like I said, in 1804, so maybe, she doesn't give an exact dates, but probably she was a young woman at the time, so maybe this was around in the 1820s or something like that. That's what I'm speculating, because she doesn't really give the dates, but the books were published in 1844. They were translated. I don't know the original language, but you'll see it's her descriptions in Lebanon, different places, the people that she met. It's almost like an adventure story in a lot of ways. Okay. So, I was kind of disappointed. She didn't bring up she just sort of hinted at what happened in the future. And she did say that there were a lot of things that went on that she was not including, in her memoir. I thought that she was going to go to, Turkey, what would be now Turkey, but she didn't go to that region. At least she didn't talk about it in the book. The story, her memoir basically is in Iraq, what's now Iraq, what's now Lebanon, Syria, and Palestine. It's basically, she went to Jerusalem. She talks about when they were in Jerusalem, and then she talks about the different people that she met. It's really interesting. So I do recommend, if you like older books, if you love history, so it's, I really recommend Memoirs of a Babylonian Princess. Next, I want to talk a little bit about, an unfinished short story, or he may have intended it to be a novella or a novel. I don't know. But as you know, of course, if you are a book lover and you love classics, you know about Leo Tolstoy, one of the Russian classic great writers, okay, writer of War and Peace that I've read, Anna Karenina that I've read. This is probably one of second or third short story of his I've read. And if you go on Internet Archive, there's a lot of little essays and things. Besides his novels, there are essays and all sorts of things that you can read written by Leo Tolstoy. They call him, like, you'll see, like, Lev Tolstoy, who is Leo Tolstoy. So what I read, actually, was I finished it on Sunday as well over the weekend, was an unfinished story by Leo Tolstoy. He died in 1905, and he started working on a story, which may have been, like I said, maybe he was going to intend it to be a longer work, was Posthumous Notes of the Hermit Fedor Kuzmich. And I don't have a copy of it, but I have here. This is, maybe you can see it right here. I'm reading it on my Kindle Fire right here. So it's on Internet Archive. I will put a link in the description, so if you want to read it, you can. But so this is an unfinished story, like I said. And what it was basically about was a hermit, religious hermit, named Fedor Kuzmich. Okay. And this was like a story he's telling about his life. And the rumor was, this is based actually on a true story. The rumor was that Tsar Alexander II, who was the grandson of Catherine the Great, Tsarina Catherine the Great, he died at a really young age. He was like in his late 40s when he died. And the rumor was that Fedor Kuzmich was actually the Tsar, that the Tsar faked his own death, okay? Because the Tsar, basically, if you read the short story, the Tsar is talking about, he starts out talking about his adult life and how he was ashamed, that he had lived a sinful life, and he had also led other people astray as well. And, he felt really guilty and bad about it. And he decided that he was going to just fake his own death and disappear. Okay. And become a religious hermit, a religious recluse. And so Fedor Kuzmich, the real Fedor Kuzmich looked a lot, they say, like Tsar Alexander I. He was just like same build, same hair, everything. And so the belief is that possibly Tsar Alexander I did not die at a young age, that he's lived to an old age as a religious hermit and repentance of his younger days. Okay. So in the short story, he talks about his adulthood a little bit, and then he goes back and he starts talking about his childhood with he and his brother Constantine. Now, he doesn't say in the story that he's a czar, but if you know the story about it, or you look it up, you will see that this is actually the czar telling his story. Okay. He is saying how he became, and what Tolstoy did was fictionalize a possible, I say legend maybe, of the Tsar not actually dying, but becoming a religious recluse. Now, Fedor Kuzmich, people believe that Fedor Kuzmich, not only because of his appearance, that he was the Tsar, but he also would never go to confession. Okay. In Russia, they are Russian Orthodox, and like in the Catholic Church or an Orthodox Church, you have to go and confess to the priest from time to time. Okay. So Fedor Kuzmich never did confession. He never went to confession. And for some people, that was an indication that he was possibly the Tsar, that he didn't want to risk telling the truth about, well, I did this and I did all this stuff because, I did this when I was the ruler, and he didn't go. So he never went to confession. But, yeah. But, the story, if you read it from Internet Archive, it's got like 47 pages. And I was thinking it was much longer than I was so disappointed because it's like about 20 or 21 pages long, and I was really getting into it, and then it just abruptly stopped and it was over. I was like, wow, I was shocked. I was so shocked. I was so disappointed because I really wanted to know what was going to happen next. But I gave it 4 stars, not 5 on Goodreads. And as always, I haven't read anything by Tolstoy yet that I didn't like. His writing is always elegant. He always inserts wisdom in his writing. So his writing is not just, entertainment, but it's also, you can learn lessons from his writing. Now, I will say that the translation here might not be so good. Okay. I saw a link to the story on another website, which, I didn't go in depth to see if the translation was good or not. But I noticed that the link was not as good as the translation here was a little, I don't know. It looks like it wasn't translated quite so good, but still it's well worth it. And like I said, I'm going to put the link to it, and if I can find the other website I saw it on, I'm going to also put the link to that one as well. All right. So I've told you about what I've read recently, and I also want to mention something else. Currently I'm reading, I think it's about 4 or 5 books, but what I'm doing now, I have 4 or 5 books going, okay? But I'm reading, I try to do, I don't read anymore, but just focus on 2. I'm still, I'm over a little bit over halfway through with St. Augustine, City of God, which is 1,000+ pages. So whenever I finish it, I will talk about it. It's a complex book, so I will maybe, you know, well, anyway, that's the future. Don't worry about it. But anyway, we'll see about that later. Now, what I am reading is another Russian classic called Fathers and Sons, and it's by Eugene Turgenev. I was reading it. This is the Kindle here version. I'm reading the Kindle version. I was reading another version of it on the Libby Library app, but I forgot that I actually had bought a copy for my Kindle. I forgot that I even had one. So it may have been free. I don't know if I actually bought it, or I think it's one called First Love is on there. I got it for free, but I got it, you know, cheap. And so yeah, I'm reading Fathers and Sons, and I'll talk about that probably the next time that I'm up. And also I'm going to start another book as well. I'm trying to move now into reading the Palestinian authors and Jewish authors about history of Palestine, the novels that I talked about earlier this year when I did a book haul showing what I had gotten. So this is a book, I've shown it before, and I said I was going to put it on hold, but I'm going to start this one probably sometime this week or this weekend. Out of Place by Edward Said. This is his memoir. Edward Said was a Palestinian American intellectual. He was born in Palestine. And some years ago, I read his book, Orientalism. And Orientalism is a difficult book to read, but it was very interesting. But he was one of our intellectuals here in the United States. So I'm kind of looking forward to reading about his childhood and everything. He was Palestinian American. And he died a few years ago of cancer. So yeah. So the reading is coming along pretty good, I guess. It's slow. Some days I don't get much reading done because I have, you've heard the same song and dance. I have a lot, I have to do, and I'm working on different things. But yeah, so I'm still hanging in here with the reading, enjoying myself. Sometimes I get easily distracted and start, I'm addicted to my phone. So my phone, I have that in my hand too much when I need to put that down when I'm not teaching, when I'm not working. I need to put it down and really focus on my reading. So I love books so much. And yeah, so on my channel, if you're new to my channel, I basically have a book. My channel has basically been converted to a booktube channel, and I will be talking about all sorts of books, classic, fiction, nonfiction. Yeah, so for me, I don't care. As long as the book is good, okay? I do read lightweight stuff, but as long as the book is good. So I guess I will end here, okay? All right, so keep reading, and if you're reading, keep seeking out great reads. And so I'm going to end here. So I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. And so this is Sincere. Until next time.